Good afternoon, everyone. We are the Group 5. Today we are assigned to discuss about Georgian colonial architecture. But did you know that it is named after the first four British monarchs of the House of Hanover? George I, George II, George III, and George IV. Today we are going to tackle about its characteristics, elements, history, and sample houses.
Let us discuss the characteristics of Georgian colonial. Coming about mainly in the 1700s, Georgian colonial architecture swept the New England and Mid-Atlantic regions where it displayed the rising ambition of America as it focused more on ornamentation and grandeur than the other types of colonial architecture. The Georgian style, identified by its symmetrical balanced composition, the common use of ashlar stonework, regularity, and adherence to classical rules. It was the first architect-inspired style in America, a distinct departure from the more utilitarian, earlier buildings that follow prevailing folk traditions. A typical Georgian house is a stone or brick two-story building with a side gabled roof and a symmetrical arrangement of windows and doors on the front facade. Usually, 5 bays across with a center door, the style also commonly features a pediment or crowned front entrance with flanking pilasters.
So here are the elements for American Georgian style colonial architecture. First one off, they are gracious classical proportions and symmetry as a general rule. They are constructed from brick or stone, and they have simple facades along with a portico and symmetrical chimneys on both sides of the house. They often have 2 rooms deep and are 2 stories high. They have top floors featuring smaller dormer windows and lower ceilings in spaces that were originally reserved for staff. They have grand entrances with decorative features such as arches, columns, pediments, and fanlight windows over a central front door to let light into the front hallway. They have symmetrical window placement mirrored on both stories and also a side-gabled, gambrel, or hipped roofs, meaning that they slope upward from all the sides of the building.
In history, the term Georgian comes from the monarchs who ruled England from 1714 to 1830, all named George. During this period, English master architects Inigo Jones, Christopher Wren, and James Gibbs were inspired by the beauty and symmetry of Renaissance architecture and determined to create a version for the British people. Enter Georgian-style homes. These Georgian houses boasted wonderful symmetry as their main feature, whether they were small cottages or sprawling estates.
As mentioned in the elements and characteristics, these examples shown are some of many Georgian colonial houses that are still existing to this day. These examples share Georgian house characteristics like rigid symmetry in building mass as well as symmetric in window and door placement. The house itself is also made of brick and stone. They also have entrances with symmetrical columns and arches. And the interior of the house also have high ceiling. The next examples are English Renaissance architecture but still in Georgian style.
Example 1 Newton Hall, built in Norfolk, UK, 1736. Architect Colin Campbell and James Gibbs. Newton Hall is a residence of David Cholmondeley, 7th Marquis of Cholmondeley. It was commissioned by the de facto first British Prime Minister, Sir Robert Walpole, in 1722. And it is a key building in the history of Palladian architecture in England. Land is 4 kilometers square. Example number 2, Marble Hill, built in Twickenham, UK, 1729. Architect Roger Morris. Marble Hill was built for the remarkable Henrietta Howard, mistress of King George II, when he was Prince of Wales, and friend and confidante of some of the cleverest men in England. The house and gardens were intended as an Arcadian retreat from crowded 18th century London. Land is 0.38 kilometers squared.
Little Dean Jail, designed by William Blackburn and completed in 1791, and its land 0.38 kilometers square. The House of Correction in Little Dean was built as a type of role model for what modern prisons of the day could be. Indeed, London's Pentonville Prison and the Philadelphian Cherry Hill Penitentiary system were modeled on the facility. Airy and light. Today, it is a museum that is home to the infamous Crime Through Time collection. It carries a collection of crime and police memorabilia. Bedford Square, built between 1776 and 1780 by architect Thomas Leverton, and its land 0.024 kilometers square. Bedford Square is a bold, beautiful example of Georgian architecture and one of the first examples of a planned neighborhood. The square was conceived as an upper middle class residential area, and the building forms a perfect geometrical square. Today, Bedford Square is no longer a residential area. Instead, it is home to businesses and cultural institutions such as Sotheby's, Architecture Associates, Paul Mellon Center, Yale University Press, and New College for Humanities.
The history of Royal Scottish Academy of Art and Architecture. The Scottish Academy was founded in 1826 by a group of 11 artists. It was created with the aim of creating an Academy of Fine Arts, instructing students at no charge, to present an annual exhibition open to all artists of merit, and maintain the library devoted of the fine arts. The Academy held its first exhibition in 1827, and in 1835 had been granted permission to lease space within the Royal Institution building on the Mound for its annual exhibition. By the 1838, the Academy had gained a royal charter, and it continued to grow in significance and status throughout the 19th century, to training young artists and looking after its collection of benefit of students and a wider public. When a new purpose-built gallery was designed and constructed in 1850s, the Royal Scottish Academy moved in alongside the newly created National Gallery of Scotland, hosting its exhibitions within the gallery, as well as having a council room, library, and life school within the building. It continued to teach fine arts in the gallery until the Edinburgh College of Art was formed in 1907. In 1910, it was decided that the RSA should be transferred back into the Royal Institution building and be awarded permanent tenancy of office space and the right to hold the annual exhibition within the building. The building then became known as the Royal Scottish Academy. In return, the RSA gifted 96 paintings and sculpture and approximately 2,000 drawings to the National Gallery of Scotland and are still part of the national collection. The latest phase in the history of RSA saw the construction of an underground link between the Royal Scottish Academy building and the National Gallery of Scotland. Award-winning architects John Miller and partners rose to the challenge of redeveloping the building for modern use. The Royal Scottish Academy building reopened in 2004 and is now a world-class exhibition space, while the underground garden-level houses a range of visitors' facilities and education spaces. The Royal Scottish Academy building now plays host to the variety of exhibitions programmed by the National Galleries of Scotland, the Royal Scottish Academy of Art and Architecture, and others.
We also thank Ramina Sinido, Carlos Miguel Crosino, Randall J. Diaz, Tricia Ann Lauris de Masacat, Isabella Beatriz Munoz, Janela Marie Oñez, Mark Rainiel Ginek Sacco, John Albert Victoria for being part of this group. Thank you for listening. Again, we are the Group 5, bringing you the knowledge about Georgian colonial architecture.